space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim, and with me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And we're here to talk about the latest episode of Lower Decks. We'll always have Tom Paris, and unfortunately, the rabbit hole that led us down this week was to talk about Threshold from Voyager, which I'm sure I don't have to tell anyone is one of the most notorious, shall we say, one of the most hated.
Well, to be fair, this episode of Lower Decks has answered a question because for a number of years it's been argued that Threshold isn't actually canon.
That's true, actually.
They've
Yeah,
tried to say that it's not canon, but now it's mentioned in Lower Decks. It is officially now canon.
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember which producer it was. It might have been Rick Berman or whatever. Yeah. But I remember at the time them saying, "Yeah, this is the only episode we don't consider canon."
Yeah, so it's definitely canon now because it's now being referred to itself within the universe.
Yep, we've all got to live with it. Anyway, before we get on to those, we've got a little bit of Star Trek news. We're expecting a huge amount of Star Trek news next week, but this week we just got a few little bits here and there.
Yeah, they announced, didn't they, just after we went off air again last week, Star Trek Day is going to be next Wednesday. Or it's going to be next Wednesday if you're in the United States and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It starts at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, so like we're in the UK, so for us it's going to be 1:30 in the Thursday morning.
Yep.
And you can all do the maths on your own time zones. What will it be? 2:30 UTC.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going. So what we're doing next week, which it'll mean the podcast will be out a day late. The live broadcast that we do on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, that's going to be a day late as well because we're hoping and we're expecting that we're finally going to get the Strange New Worlds trailer, so we'll have plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
Even if we don't get the trailer, we're sure there's going to be enough news coming out of it for us to cover in a bit more depth than we usually do. So next episode is going to be the latest episode of Lower Decks and then coverage of whatever goes down on Star Trek Day.
Hopefully we'll be looking at Strange New Worlds trailer finally.
Yes, I really hope so.
We've made a lot of predictions on when the Strange New World trailer is going to drop. And we're making another that'll be next week.
We've got to be right one time. Unless they just don't do a trailer. Surely we've got to drop lucky at some point and get it right. But
we did get a surprise as well, didn't we? Was it yesterday? Out of the blue, they've dropped the opening sequence for Prodigy.
Yeah, and I liked it. I think the animation is brilliant.
It is on our Facebook group if anybody wants to go watch it. Sort of undenied about it today, I did, and it was sort of like last time we did put a trailer up, we got a copyright strike, so we've just not gone there this time.
And there's not a huge amount to break down in it in terms of the visuals. Like it's a pretty cool. Like the ship looks awesome, and it looks like it's a bit like Voyager. It looks like the nacelles move. It looks like they move from an upwards.
But it looked like they went down, didn't they, instead of going up?
So that's really interesting, and it shows you a bit of the characters. It's sort of a kind of an abstract thing where the ship's flying around these huge versions of the characters, and you get little glimpses of them here and there. And it's a good tune as well. It's I can't remember it now, so claiming that it's memorable
it did have little bits of original. You could hear the original series sort of coming through in it, couldn't you?
Little bits of it, but it seemed to have a bit more of a melody than Picard has. I mean, that one, I think, the weakest of the theme tunes we've had, but it's much more of a engaging, for want of a better, and if you'll pardon the pun, theme tune than some of the ones we've had. So yeah, everything's looking good with that so far.
Yeah, and then we had a little bit of bad news, didn't we? It's sort of like expected, but for American and Canadian listeners, from the end of September, you're going to lose, was it the original series, Voyager and Enterprise from Netflix?
Yeah, I'm hoping we don't get that over here. Because we know.
I think once we have access to Paramount Plus over here, it'll come, because they're going to want all the properties back under their own roof.
They do, but it depends how long they've done these arrangements with Netflix and Amazon for. But remains to be seen.
They're not cancelling anything, are they? They're waiting until licenses run out. They're just not renewing.
That's what I mean. So it depends how long Netflix.
Yeah, it's like I was looking through the Netflix thing, and it's amazing how many Fox movies and shows are ending on Netflix.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to bulk out that star on Disney.
And that's obviously going to Disney Plus.
Yeah. So that's about it for news for this week. But as we say, we're expecting a load more news to talk about next week, and fingers crossed on that new Strange New Worlds trailer. But we've got a new episode to talk about. We'll always have Tom Paris from Lower Decks. I thought another really good, fun episode, this one. Yeah. I'm really liking what they're doing this season with Lower Decks.
I am. Like, my only, as we spoke about last week, my only complaint so far is overuse of the puns with from Daymok.
But yeah, we don't get a lot from Keishon this week, because the big revelation is that Shax is back, and we're going to talk about that a little bit as we go along. But so Boimler's back on the ship then, which is how we left it last time. And I like this running joke that they've got, that none of his security codes have been updated. So nothing's working at all. Like, he's trying to get the replicator work, and he ends up with a bonsai tree.
Yeah, like, I've been thinking about this all week, and it's sort of like, is this because this is the copy of Boimler that we've got back?
Maybe.
And the computer can recognise that it's the copy. Or is it because he's active on the Titan?
Maybe, yeah.
And it sort of can't work out that he's in two places at the same time.
Yeah, they've not updated it to put a new Boimler in the system. But then you'd think, since the other one changed his name, he should be the one who's counted as the copy, and he has to have a new account set up and everything. But yeah, I don't know. And I like that we get a little cameo from this Andorian officer again, who we know doesn't like Marina for some reason, but
Marina doesn't like her.
Yeah, she's getting pissed off with Boimler here as well. So I like that the dropping her in is just, she seems to be someone who nobody gets on with. She doesn't like anybody. She's always pissed off about something. And I wonder if that's going to come to a head at some point, or whether it's just going to be that she's always there moaning about something in the background. And either way, I'm happy with it. I quite like that they've got this character who's sort of the antithesis of your typical Star Trek optimistic character. It's like, no, we've got this one who just hates everything. So I'm enjoying her so far. And I like how Marina comes up and goes, "Are we doing sci-fi stuff today?" That's sort of a greeting to everybody. And we talked about this in Picard when Jurati was looking at Picard's book collection, and Picard said, "Oh, I've never been a big fan of sci-fi." And it's interesting to think of what does the concept of sci-fi mean to these characters who live in a world where everything's sci-fi to us.
Yeah.
how much crazier would a sci-fi novel have to be?
Well, it's hard to say because, well, you can look back and sort of look at early sci-fi, Jules Verne with his 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. We still love watching the Jules Verne stuff.
Oh, yeah, we do.
There's the Frankenstein stories, and Dracula.
Yeah, but I'm wondering because when we define something as science fiction, where it's something that's taking science and extrapolating it to an extent that we don't have access to now. So, like, Frankenstein would still fall into that, so we can't reanimate corpses we know.
Or can we?
Okay, exactly. So, that would still be sci-fi, but in Star Trek, it's like if someone wrote a book about time travel, you'd just go, oh, this is just a fiction novel. That's not science fiction. Everybody does it all the time. So science fiction would have to be something really out there in Star Trek time to be science fiction.
I assume it's travelling to different galaxies because there's still galactic barriers. So I assume that it's different galaxies and different types of life. And
if you set stuff in the Andromeda galaxy, it's sci-fi. If you set it in the Milky Way, it's just contemporary fiction. And you imagine like these people at university in the Star Trek time studying, because I used to hate it when we did contemporary fiction at my uni. We're like, oh, here we go. And it, they were dull, like, the Poisonwood Bible, and don't at me, anyone. I know that the Poisonwood Bible is a modern classic and it's respected and all this, but it's hard work. So, but whereas I did a unit on American genre fiction and got to read Carrie and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and stuff like that, and I was like, this is the best unit going. But I imagine if you're at Star Trek, like we're reading some contemporary fiction about time travel, boring.
Is this a history book?
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is just kitchen sink drama. This is like watching EastEnders or something. But Shax is alive, so we spotted him in the trailer. So we're giving ourselves a pat on the back for that. We knew he was coming. We talked about, is it a flashback? What's going on? No, he's just alive. And that's one of the mysteries of the episode. And I love the way they play with it. And they talk about, the lower decks never find out how the crew members come back.
But I like how they go, bridge officers are always coming back to life.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, we have seen this a lot through Star Trek. But
because I thought about it at first and I thought, well, there's only Spock, really. But then you think about, how many episodes has someone died for a few minutes and come back? Or,
Neelix in Voyager.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom Paris in the next episode that we're actually looking at in Threshold dies.
Harry Kim's died a couple of times and come back. And
yeah.
So, this does happen all the time. It's just that there's not a big thing made of it, and the bridge crew know what's happened. But, can you imagine being on the ship and having a rumour going around like, did you hear that Neelix died last week? And nobody's telling us what's actually, And this is exactly what we're doing with Shax, which is just brilliant. And then on the other side of it, we've got Boimler's really giddy that he's going to be meeting Tom Paris. And I love how they do a joke about the abbreviations, like he's talking about Voy.
Yeah.
And it's, why do you say that? It saves time. No, it doesn't. And then she goes, you know what? That does save time, saying Voy.
The thing is, though, that we do, like the abbreviation that we all have for it is STVOY, Star Trek Voy.
and they've, I think the lower decks one is LDS, which is a bit of an in-joke because you've got that bit in Star Trek 4 where Kirk says, I think you did too much LDS.
Yeah.
So I think that's a bit of a joke. But so I like that we're being a bit metatextual and having that sort of joke going on. And then that sort of metatextual idea carries on even further, that we're guilty of this. We'll hold his hands up. We've said it's always Boimler and Mariner and it's always Tendy and Rutherford. Let's mix it up. And the show is obviously aware of this because they're hanging a lampshade on it this episode. by saying like, "Oh, you're always with him, and I'm always with him, and this is the first time we've been on a mission together. Why don't we go on more missions and let's learn more about each other?" So it's obviously that they are listening to the fan feedback and they're addressing it in a way that is having a bit of fun with the idea, and they're getting the best.
Like the nice thing about Lower Decks is Lower Decks takes the Mickey out of the other shows, but it does it in a loving way. But it's also not scared to take the Mickey out of itself.
No, exactly. And, what? This is the 13th episode of Lower Decks, and already they're comfortable enough to be poking fun at themselves with it and addressing what some of the shortcomings of it have been and doing it in a way that's fun. And they get to have the cake and eat it because they are giving us a Tendy and Mariner storyline, but they're also taking the piss out of us, really, for having a go at it, for not doing that. So, well played, Mike McMahon. You've got us bang to rights, but you're also addressing the criticism as well. So, well done. I like here as well that we get a reference to Klingon acid punk.
Now, doesn't Klingons being into doing acid punk make more sense than this warrior race all being into opera?
Exactly, and that's the thing. We only ever associate Klingons with Klingon opera. That's all we've ever heard about. And of course, they'd have different genres of music, but we know that they're an angry race. We know they're a warrior race. Playing angry music makes a lot more sense than the opera. Of course, it does.
And oh yeah, we wrote Shakespeare and.
Right, yeah. No, I reckon Klingon novels would be really trashy, violent stuff. Like, I mean, I can't even think, but it'd be like Jack Reacher or something would be Klingon novels. But yeah, Klingon acid punk's great. I reckon Alexander was into Klingon emo. Like, I bet he listened to thoughts about how they hate the dad.
Like, it's not going to be long, is it, till there's a tribute band out there doing Klingon acid punk at some of these conventions.
Oh, definitely. I'm up for that. Yeah, we'll have a ticket.
I think that's something we've got to look forward to when the convention scene properly opens up again.
Yeah, Klingon. In fact, if any of us had any musical talent, we could start that band, but we don't, so we shan't.
Yeah, that's a big what if. But that's Marvel Universe, and we're not talking about the Marvel Universe.
Very true. So Mariner drops that we've seen a flashback with Nia DS9 before, but she drops that she served on DS9 at the same time as well, which means that she was definitely on DS9 during the run of the show. Yeah, because one leaves to be the ambassador at the end. So
which means that she was on DS9 for the Dominion War.
So when we get back to doing our Dominion War, we'll look and see if there's any extras who could be Mariner.
Yeah.
And then we'll decide that that's our headcanon, that's Mariner somewhere in the background.
Yeah. Like, there's got to be someone, hasn't there, that keeps cropping up. And she sort of talks that she makes it sound like she gets on with Worf.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes, we'll have Mariner Watch now when we do our Deep Space Nines. And I love the thing with Dr. Tana, and it's they've got to go get this artifact, and it turns out actually they go, oh, this is a fertility thing. So we're getting a lot of these. We're having a Acacian fertility statue. We've had Kalus's fornication helmet.
Yeah,
we're getting a lot of Star Trek sex toys being put out there effectively in the last couple of episodes.
I like that how Dr. Tandy explains why she's sending Tandy though, because I need a junior officer who won't ask questions and just go do what I tell them.
Well, that's it. Tendy's, I mean, we find out she's got a bit more of a wild side in this episode than we've seen before. And we also get them playing Domjot, which is good fun, with the Nausicaans.
Yeah.
And Domjot, I think, if we had to think of an Earth game, it looks closest to Bar Billiards to me.
Yeah, definitely Bar Billiards.
Yeah, which Bar Billiards is it? You don't see many Bar Billiards tables very often, but it's a great pub game. I don't understand really why not. It's more of a southern thing. It's southern England thing rather than where in the north. But yeah, I like a bit of bar billiards. Very expensive. I looked at how much it was to buy a table, and they're a fortune. Anyway, so they have the Nausicaans and Dom Jot and everything, and then meanwhile, Boimler's ended up crawling through the Jeffries tubes, and this is a very good visual gag that he ends up looking like a Kazon, but you don't realise that's what they're doing until right at the end when Tom Paris realises what it is. It's very, very well done.
Like, I don't know if you noticed, like, the plate that he's carrying on the thumbnail that I've done for this week is actually from the real plate that's been released.
Oh, is it?
I haven't taken it from the animation. That's the actual real plate that I've got on the thumbnail. But you can see that it matches the animation.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're going to sell like hotcakes, aren't they? Everyone's going to want one now. But I love the whole thing about how he's a big fan of Tom Paris and everything. And I like when Tom goes onto the bridge and they say, "Oh, don't take us to the Delta Quadrant." And I bet Tom thinks, "Oh, I haven't heard that before." I bet he gets that wherever he goes now.
Every ship.
And it's him engaging the engines, which messes Boimler up because you have that bit where he's like, "Okay, as long as nobody switches it on and there's no reason to," and then "Welcome to the bridge, Mr. Paris," and off they go. Yeah, really well set up and everything. Meanwhile, Rutherford he's got this thing about, I want to know how Shax came back, and he has that weird trippy dream where it's got he's a Borg and he's from the mirror universe and
he's being brought back by microscopic people, which is a reference to the animated series again.
He's got a mini Dyson sphere and all of this stuff going on and everything. And I love when he sort of confronts him about it. And there's that bit where he's going to ask, but then the other guy asks and it's, "Ooh." And then when he finally
the other guy gets demoted out of engineering for asking.
Exactly. And then when he does finally get the answer, it's this brilliantly surreal thing where he starts off and goes, "Well, first you must know about the Black Mountain." And obviously we don't get any more of it other than that. But it reminds me a little bit of when that guy ascended in season 1 and he was talking about the hamster that was looking at him. There's this weird...
No, it was the koala.
Koala, sorry. Yeah. Yes. It's kind of this thing that Lower Decks has got, that the metaphysical side of Star Trek is really weird. And they're just throwing out these totally abstract, surreal images, which...
Yeah, well, they're not trying to step on any toes, are they, by saying anything definitive or contradicting anything. So they're making it all very surreal. And
and, if you want to fit this in your head canon or whatever... The Black Mountain might be something from Bajoran mythology. So Strax's understanding, or Shax's understanding of how he came back from the dead probably involves...
Well, the Black Mountain could be the mountain range where that we saw in What You Leave Behind, where Cisco goes to fight in the fire pits.
Raids, exactly. So his interpretation of how he came back probably draws on the mythology, the spirituality of his own people. So, I'm sure there's people out there who are worried that this is going to break the Star Trek universe by implying that there's this Black Mountain after death. I don't think it does. I think it's really funny, but I think this is just Shax's take on what's happened to him. Like, you've got to get through the Black Mountain. Having said that, if they do an episode set in the afterlife with a quest for the Black Mountains, I am absolutely up for that.
I'm for it, but I don't think they will. I don't think they'll go there because you risk stepping on too many toes of people, and people upsetting too many people with religious backgrounds, various religions.
Yes,
if you go there in too specific a way and say it's this or it's that, while they keep it surreal, and you don't actually say anything, you can get away with.
Yeah, I don't think Star Trek will ever present a definitive thesis on what the afterlife is. So, yeah, I'm happy with the Black Mountain for now. Marina and Tendy then. So we find out that Tendy used to be part of this Orion thing, and what's she called? The Queen of something.
She's a mistress of the Western constellations.
That's it. So, yeah, she's had a lot more of a checkered past than we originally thought she had.
The Orion women run the Orion Society. They're the ones who are actually in charge of everything.
Yeah.
Which is well established in Star Trek canon. So it makes sense that she's got some title.
Oh, yeah. It's just surprising that her particularly has come from this background, but it's a good one.
Yeah, well, I like this because you got Tendy all the way through. She's trying to be a good Starfleet officer and all that. And you get that she wants to be Starfleet. She can be in Orion, but she wants to be the first successful Orion in Starfleet.
That's it. She's obviously good at being an Orion pirate, but yeah, she wants something different. A bit like Nog, could have been a decent Ferengi, but wanted to be in Starfleet. And yeah, there's some they do an obvious pirate joke where he's act like a pirate, which I think is a bit of a lame joke, having a going to RR and all this business. But then they follow it up with a really good joke where he questions it. Why are you talking like that? And they show it's pheromone allergies, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm right there with you." I think they probably fed us the lame joke to set up that quite funny one to it. Then the end to the story with the whole cat thing and everything. I like that she just turns into a cat. She's like, "No, I just wanted the box."
I like how because Tendy decides to drop the statue and save Marina because they are friends, even though they've been bickering at each other by this point. That you know nothing about me and you know nothing about me, and like you've known me a year. How didn't you even know my name?
Yeah, that's right.
But like they made friends, so Marina decides that she'll take the blame for the statue being smashed by crashing the shuttle into the ship.
Yeah, and
I just love how it's ramming speed and it hits and it just goes dink.
Yeah, it just dinks off, and then you get the damage report. Nothing. Yeah, brilliant. And then the Doctor just rolls about in the box like a cat, which she is a cat, so that's fair enough. I love how she's like popping her head out of it and
big eyes and
yeah, really, really good fun. And we end up obviously with Marina in the brig again, which seems to be. I won't be surprised if every episode this season ends with Marina in the brig again.
Yeah, she's quite comfortable there, isn't she?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we've had two.
We do get the nice part, we do get the nice part where Boimler drops into the bridge from above.
Oh yeah,
and we have Tom Paris turns around, and this is where it all pays off. How he's been getting in a mess in the stew, but it just K's on. And dives on him. This is how we kick ass in the Delta Quadrant. Yeah,
and yeah, you can tell Robert Duncan McNeil's having good fun reprising Tom Paris here. It's really good use of a cameo, and also the first time, almost the first time, we had Admiral Janeway have a very brief cameo in Nemesis, and obviously we've seen Seven in Picard. But to actually see one of the Voyager crew people, what they're doing after they get back to the Alpha Quadrant, we've seen so little of that.
And this also breaks. This shows that he's remained in Starfleet.
Yeah.
Which
definitely
goes against Endgame, because Endgame showed that he'd left Starfleet to become an author.
Oh, yeah, but that was the alternative future. Yeah, and then it all got changed. They do mention, though, that he's the creator of Fairhaven,
Yeah, so like Fairhaven is obviously a well-used program now,
which I can't imagine why, but fair enough. If Tom's done all right with it, good on him.
Yeah, I'd have been happy if people had gone. He's the writer of Captain Proton.
Well, they do mention Captain Proton. I think he says the creator of Fairhaven, Captain Proton himself, or something.
Yeah.
So at least he's getting credit for the fun holodeck stuff that he did, not just the awful one, which we will get to that at some point.
Well, we have said that we're going to do that when we can get together, and we're going to do it drunk.
Yes, we're definitely going to do an outside broadcast from a pub or something when we do Fairhaven. But speaking of terrible Voyager episodes, then, all of this has led us, the throwaway reference to Tom being a salamander, has led us finally to Threshold, which is, I mean, as we said at the top of the show, it is notorious. It's known as one of the worst episodes of Star Trek ever, if not the worst. I don't think that's entirely fair.
I don't think that's fair. Like, I've rewatched it twice this last week since we decided that we were going to do Threshold. And I've come to the conclusion that the first half of Threshold is actually a really good episode.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I actually...
And it's like they lost the way.
Yeah.
It's like that game that you play where you had a line on. You had the next line or the next word into this sentence, and it's almost like they've done that, and it's almost like, right, we've written the first half, we've done the first half of the script.
Yeah,
we're going to change writers, but all we're going to show him is the last two lines before he takes over and see where it goes.
Yeah, because you're right. The first half of the episode is a really interesting idea of how do we get to warp 10? Is it possible? Can we do this? And it's a good scientific sort of almost scientific mystery episode.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote down the exact timestamp when it all starts to go wrong, which is 17 minutes 59 seconds, which is where Tom takes a sip of his coffee and something's wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's from that point that they obviously decided, right, we're going to go down the salamander route. And like you said, obviously, or it feels like they've gone, right, I've got an idea for an episode. It's about Tom Paris breaking the warp 10 barrier. And then somebody else has gone, I've got an idea for an episode, and it's about Tom Paris turning into a salamander. And for some reason, they've gone, you know what, let's put those two.
Them two ideas. That's a marriage made in heaven. Just like half salamander Tom and Catherine Janeway.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Which, I mean, we'll get there.
Did you like the little love hearts I added?
Oh, yeah, on the thumbnail. Yeah, we got the love hearts on there. I mean, it does just get sillier and sillier.
Yeah,
but
like we knew we were going to have fun with this episode, and I started when I did the thumbnail.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before it all gets too silly, then, we start off and Tom's doing a transwarp experiment. It doesn't work, and we're on the holodeck. I wanted to mention this here because we don't seem to see the holodeck grid as much in Voyager as we do in TNG. And I really don't like it. I think the TNG one looks so much cooler and sleeker, whereas this looks really tacky, like you've got all the metal and stuff hanging.
The TNG one looks like it's already projecting.
Maybe, yeah.
It's already a grid, isn't it?
Could be. Never thought of that.
And this one looks like it just goes down to the basics. And I think that's the power saving thing that they don't like. I think on the Enterprise D, they had the power, so like the holodecks were powered up at all times, so they had that grid that you walked into and started building inside.
Okay,
and that's actually part of the projection already. But I think Voyager in power saves that it goes down to what what is actually there of the projectors.
Go on then, I'll give you that, but it don't look as good. I think it looks much
It doesn't
better.
look as cool, but it actually makes a lot more sense that you can see that there's all the projectors all over the walls and everything.
I suppose, yeah, okay. So Neelix then offers to help with the Warp 10 experiment, and we've come across this before where Neelix will just turn up and go, "Oh, is there anything I can do to help?" And the answer is always no, Neelix, there's not. You're a chef. If we've got a problem with food, or we've got a morale problem or whatever, then fine. But no. But
we're working on a complex warp thing. Do you understand quantum warp theory? No, but I'm a quick study. What?
Yeah, no, you're not that quick, son. And at least B'Elanna looks annoyed about it. Like, B'Elanna's just like, I wish he'd piss off and we could get on with it. So fair play to him there. What it does, though, is it allows them to explain to Neelix so that the audience can get brought up to date. And the way they explain Warp 10, it's pretty much the infinite improbability drive from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's exactly what it is.
Well, if you look at warp graphs, why Warp 10 is impossible is because it's infinite speed.
Yeah, exactly. So you're everywhere.
If you're going at infinite speed, you're going to be everywhere at once.
Yeah. And then they get the experiment approved, which is all well and good. And then there's this weird scene where Janeway goes to see Tom, and for some reason he's rocking a dressing gown. He's just there, and
well, she's obviously decided, like, he's got this important flight. I'm going to go disturb you in the middle of the night.
Yeah, true. And it's quite a good character moment. Like, there's a bit of back and forth on it, and it's, you know, we're going to get Harry to do it because you've got this imbalance, but Tom...
Yeah, there's a 2% chance you could be injured.
Yeah, and Tom's willing to do it, and they put all, you know, there's a bit of, is he going to let him do it? And he does one of his speeches, which convinces him. And, you know, again, we get this in Star Trek a lot, where it's like, you can't do this, but I'm the only one who can do this. I have to do this. And then the captain always backs down and goes, okay, you're the one to... But it's pretty good, you know, character stuff and everything for Tom. And
the thing that gets me about this is, like, so have they done they've got the transwarp drive. Where did they get that from? Or have they just got plans on board and they can replicate one from the Excelsior?
Yeah, I think the implication is that Tom's designed this in his spare time, you know, and it's a bit far-fetched.
Like, we've discovered a new type of dilithium.
Yeah. So, and why did they do it on a shuttle? Because the shuttle's only got little warp engines, and we know shuttles can't go as fast as, you know, the starships anyway. But I suppose the explanation for that is, well, it's this new type of dilithium, so they can do.
Yeah, and they've changed the alloy of the warp nacelles already.
Something like that. And I like that the shuttle's called Cochrane. I wonder if they renamed it specially for this mission, like, you know, you're going to do something that'll put you in the history. So, you know, let's call it Cochrane.
I'm sure that they've used the shuttle Cochrane a few times in Voyager.
Maybe then. So maybe they just decided, oh, well, we're doing a Warp 10 experiment. It'd be appropriate to do it in Cochrane.
Yeah, like, what is it on? I don't know about the shuttles on the TNG Enterprise, but on TOS there were sort of famous scientists or astronomers.
Yeah.
DS9 it's rivers.
Yeah.
In lower decks it's national parks.
Yes, you're right.
And there's like, what was the name of the shuttle that they had this week? But that's actually a national park in California. And the Cerritos of the California class.
Yes. No, that makes sense. So Tom does the test then, and he hits warp 10. And the surprise that they can't find him on the sensors, like, well, of course,
and that they lose radio contact.
Like, he's literally gone faster than anyone's ever. He could be anywhere in the universe.
Yeah.
You'd be lucky if you did have him on sensors. But when they do find him, then I like how the Doctor wakes him up by giving him a slap. That's all.
Well, yeah. Can you wake him up? Okay. Wake up.
Wake up. Yeah, sorry, he shouts at him, doesn't he? Don't give him a slap. Right. Maybe that's just me expecting the Doctor to wake him up. So the shuttles log the whole sector, and Janeway's excited about the possibilities, like, let's get it to stellar cartography. So, like you said, this is all going really, really good.
Yeah,
and
it's like I was thinking here, like, right at this point, they've got the shuttles warp 10, and obviously the main objective is to get home. So they're obviously going to have to plot somewhere through the shuttle for stellar cartography. So that makes sense. Get everything so they can plot a route home. But they're going to have to send people in little batches on the shuttle.
Yeah,
because you can't change Voyager because you'd have to rebuild all the bloody hull and shell of it.
That's true. Yeah, they'll have to do it a bit at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to say, like, to be fair, if you infinite speed, 6 at a time, it's not going to take that long actually to get everyone home.
Couple of days, well, even less, couple of hours. There's
couple of hours tops.
Yeah, easy. So then, yeah, this is when it all starts going wrong. So Tom's sipping his coffee and it tastes funny. And then
that isn't going wrong actually, because that's quite normal. Because Neelix has invented it as a new flavour for Tom.
True.
And they're having quite a sensible talk about, right, what's the next step? Well, we should repeat the flight exactly the same to check it wasn't a fluke, that we can do this again. And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But then it goes on.
Now it starts going downhill.
Yeah. And we get the first weird diagnosis from the Doctor. He's allergic to water.
Yeah, that's called rabies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not a doctor and I know that.
No, I mean, maybe he's turning into one of them aliens out of Signs, the M. Night Shyamalan films, who can't stand water. You never know. But yeah, it could be rabies. You're right. I don't know why the Doctor didn't zoom in on that. But it looks like he's turning into a fish. And he gets
Well, a fish wouldn't be allergic to water.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought that if he's turning into an aquatic animal, if anything, he'd like water.
Yeah.
But instead they have to, like, put him in a force field and change the atmosphere and all this so he can breathe and everything. And they do almost a tribute to The Fly, the Jeff Goldblum film. You know, he starts, like, pondering about how he feels so sorry for himself, then his tongue drops out, and it's...
Yeah, like, you have this weird thing, though, where he's about to die, and the Doctor shouts, "Computer, prepare the cortical stimulator."
And
then Kes goes, "It's right ready when you are." Since when has Kes been the computer?
Sorry, we dropped out there, Elliot. What did you say?
I was just saying, when the Doctor shouts, when Tom starts to die, and he goes, "Computer, prepare the cortical stimulator." And then waits a few seconds, and Kes goes, "Ready." Since when was Kes the computer?
Oh, that's a good point, yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's some weird stuff going on.
Like, was it just to give her a couple of lines in the episode?
Probably, yeah. I mean, just random dialogue. He screams out, "Pepperoni, I want a pepperoni pizza." Which, fair enough. You know, I often want a pepperoni pizza, but, you know...
I am having pepperoni pizza for tea tonight, as it happens.
And then he asks Kez to kiss him. And the doctor says she can't breathe the atmosphere in there. Like, that's your problem with that request. Do you not think it's inappropriate that he's hitting on the nurses? You know, are you saying if he could breathe it, the doctor would have been like, right, Kez, give him a kiss?
Yeah, well, his last request.
Yeah, you've got to do it. That's part of the job. And anyway, so Tom dies. And this is where the episode could have got really good if we'd have seen Tom's quest to escape from the Dark Mountain.
Yeah.
But instead, he just comes back. He's obviously defeated all the armies and escaped it and everything. And he's now a Time Lord as well because he's got a second heart.
Yeah.
He's got a second heart and he's allergic to water, which are obviously all traits of a giant salamander. Then we get a little bit of the ongoing subplot about the Kazon traitor guy. And the Kazon go, oh, well, Warp 10's impossible. Like, well, the Kazon can't even do Warp 8. So, you know, but the way he says it is as if he's going to be able to do Warp 10. Like, well, you can't even do Warp 8, mate. So don't be slagging off, you know, someone who's you are.
The Kazon aren't technologically advanced. The Kazon are scavengers.
That way, yeah.
All the technology they have is stolen.
Yeah. So having this Kazon go, oh, well, you know, Warp 10's theoretically impossible. You haven't got a clue. You probably know even less about it than Neelix does, never mind. And then they come up very briefly with an idea. Well, what we'll do is we'll stick Tom in the warp core. That'll do something.
It's for the antiphotons. The doctor doesn't explain it. He goes, I've worked out a treatment. And he needs a course of antiphotons to reverse the changes to his DNA. Okay. Well, the only place, and Blarney goes, the only place we've got antiphotons is in the warp core.
I mean, yes. It doesn't go anywhere. Fair enough. I mean, it'd have been quite funny having Tom as a fish floating in the warp core, but...
Well, I'm assuming that it does, because they do get better at the end, but we don't... And it says that he had to increase the amount of antiprotons they give them.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe we didn't...
It's obviously... So, I think he has put them in the warp core.
Yeah, you're right. So they should make a lava lamp that looks like the warp core, and you get a little salamander in it.
A couple of little... Two big and three little salamanders.
Yeah, they just float around. Well, not the little ones, because we just abandoned them. Which, yeah, let's get to the end then. So it's just ridiculous. 3 days later, they find the shuttle.
Well, we do have where Janeway goes to try and talk to him.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
He gets aggressive and stuff. And that's where his tongue falls out and he thinks it's funny. And then, like, we have the Janeway abduction. Like, don't this remind you of every creature feature from the 50s and all that? Yeah. Where the monster always abducts the woman. And definitely. And I was thinking about this and, like, all these creature features, it's bestiality, but from their point of view, it's like, King Kong, why is a giant gorilla attracted to a woman?
Especially a woman that's that small.
Yeah.
Like, don't make sense.
And like the creature from the Black Lagoon. Why? It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it was always part of the creature feature where they steal the woman.
It's the cliche, isn't it? And we do get that. And if we're being kind to this episode, we could say they're obviously trying to channel a lot of different horror things. Like we've had an homage to The Fly, and now we're doing creature features. So maybe that's what they're doing. Who knows?
Like we say, this episode started so strong, and it's like it's forgotten where it started. It totally loses its way about, like you say, it's 17 minutes, a third of the way through, it completely loses its way.
That's it.
It becomes something different.
if you describe this to people, like if anyone's listening to this podcast and they've not seen this episode, they'll think we're taking the piss. Like, they'll think there is no way this happened in an episode of Star Trek, but it all did. And so they get to the planet, and Tom and Janeway have turned into these big salamander things. Chakotay just stuns them with the phaser immediately. Like,
yeah, but what gets me is that they've gone to warp 10, so they could be anywhere. And yet they catch up with them within 3 days.
Yeah, it was lucky that, really.
Yeah.
Out of anywhere in the universe, not just the galaxy, anywhere in the universe they could have been. It's lucky that they only went
3 days away.
But anyway, the Chakotay just stuns them. Like, so you're not going to try and talk to them, Chakotay, or anything, you know. I know the salamanders, but for all we know, they can still speak and they can still communicate. But Chakotay,
it's explained that the super evolved, they've evolved millions of years into the future.
This is the other thing. Like,
they've got, like, they're saying that surplus organs have stopped working. Which, okay, we don't use our appendix anymore, so we can see that because we don't live on grass anymore. There's actually proof that we all lose in our little toes.
Yeah, I was going to say
if you look at skeletons from a couple of 100 years ago, little toes are a lot bigger than what they are now because we wear shoes how they are. We don't need the little toe to balance anymore.
Yeah.
So we're losing our little toes. So there is proof of the evolution that we lose things, but that you turn into a salamander.
Yeah, like
the Q must be going, oh, phew. And we were worried that they were going to evolve to be a match for us. Thank fuck for that. They're just going to be salamanders.
Yeah. Salamanders, like we've all seen that evolution thing where it starts off as a monkey and it goes up and up and up till you get to a man. But then salamander after that, you know, I have no idea.
That was the whole thing through TNG with the Q. And I'm assuming going to be continuing to an extent in Voyager. We've had the Q already by this point, I think.
Yeah. If not quite soon, yeah.
Quite soon. But a lot of the thing with the Q is that mankind, humanity, that we have the potential to evolve the same as them and become this enlightened species. But we actually seen here, no, we don't. We just become salamanders.
Well, maybe the salamanders like a stepping stone to the evolved species. Like you've got to go through salamander first, and then you make it. I mean, it's just utter nonsense. I mean, they'd have been better saying something like that. Genesis, the TNG episode, and going, oh, it's doing what 10's reactivated the junk DNA, or something like that. At least that's plausible. But I mean, this is ludicrous. But then,
I'll make them look like Philosians with massive brain heads.
Yeah. But the salamander babies, then. So they go, oh, Chakotay decided to leave them on the planet.
Now, this is interesting. They've only been there 3 days.
Yeah, so
Janeway's had time to give birth to 3 in that time.
Well, we assume it's Janeway that's given birth. We don't know the biology. It might be possible that Tom's the one who, or maybe they laid eggs, or who knows. But yeah, 3 days.
So within 3 days they've got young, and like already mankind as a species, our babies, our young ones, are really slow at how the. Before they reach maturity compared to most of the animal kingdom.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like, is it safe to leave 3 little babies, take the parents away, and just leave them on a planet? Apart from the ethics of it, like, you are abandoning their children, and they just brush it away with a captain's log, like Chakotay's decided to leave them on the planet, and I agree with him. Really? That's it?
Like, if you put them in the warp engines, wouldn't they just turn into babies, the same as Janeway and Paris have come back to normal?
You'd think so, but who knows? And can they survive without the parents? You know, are they still suckling? I mean, we don't know if they suckle, but most animals, even though, you know, humans are pretty much the worst in terms of independence. Like, we need looking after for a long time.
Yeah.
But even other animals, the parents still care for the young for longer than 3 days before you leave them.
Yeah, it seems quite harsh from Chakotay.
It does, but maybe he feels a bit threatened by Paris. Like, he's like, oh, I don't want Janeway being connected to Tom by having these babies. She's mine. I'm going to wait till we get marooned on a planet together and forget the salamanders. We'll have a little monkey.
It's just bizarre. Like, it's like, not only have they turned into salamanders, but they've mated and got young within 3 days.
And Janeway makes this joke like, oh, how do you know it wasn't me that initiated it, Mr. Paris? And Tom says he's learned a lesson from all of this, which I'm glad Tom has, because none of the rest of us have learned anything from this.
He's learned not to be a salamander.
Not to be, and not worry what other people think. How did you get that lesson from this, Tom? Like, oh dear. I mean, it's an absolute.
The episode is a mess.
It is an utter mess. Like you said, that first 20 minutes or so, we could have done something really interesting.
Yeah,
like
it is. It's one of those that I remember the first time watching this. And oh wow, what Tennant? Where's this going? And this is off to be somewhere else. And it was a really good episode. And then it was like, what happened?
Yeah, salamanders,
babies, Janeway's babies.
Yeah, it's just anyway. So that's Threshold. That's one we can cross off the list. The Threshold, Fairhaven, The Fight, Spock's Brain. Those are the notorious ones. So at least we've covered one of them now. Next, hang on. We've got comments.
Go on.
It's a bit risky. Sexiest male and female cast member from anyone from the entire Star Trek series, non-canon included. I'll let you field that one, Elliot.
Oh.
That's from Real Weird Art.
Sexiest.
The sexiest Star Trek character.
I always had a thing for Yom and Yan Rand when I was younger.
Fair enough.
Yeah, when I was younger.
I think, when I was a kid, probably Jadzia Dax was my biggest crush. And I'm being a straight man, I'm probably not the best to comment on the sexiest male, but
Kirk.
Yeah, well, obviously
Kirk every time he had so many alien women, he's got to be the sexiest.
Yeah, even my wife, we were watching the original series, and she's only ever seen William Shatner as like what he looks like now. And she was like, he was a bit fit when he was younger. I'm like, yeah, you see, Captain Kirk. So, yeah, thank you for the question. I'm sure we could come up with better answers if we give it a bit more time. But, so that's Threshold then. Next week, as we said at the top of the hour, we're going to be looking at the latest episode of Lower Decks, and we're also going to be looking at whatever news we get from Star Trek Day, which we're hoping...
We're hoping we'll be looking at the trailer for Strange New Worlds.
Fingers crossed. If you want to get in touch with us in the meantime, you can fire us a comment like Real Weird Art just did while we're doing our live broadcasts. If not, you can contact us on Twitter at RetrekPod. You can email us retrekpod@gmail.com, or you can just come and join us on the Facebook group and let us know either what you think of these episodes or anything Star Trek related.
And don't forget, on the Facebook group, we do have the opening title sequence for Prodigy.
Yeah.
So go check that out.
we tend to put any news we find on there, and if you want to add anything that we've missed, feel free. So thanks for trekking with us this time, and we'll see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Bye-bye.